And welcome back, class. We are now in part 15 of the True and Accurate History of Greece. As you recall, last time we discussed the first Japanese-Hellenic conflict, which took place over the issue of bastard children. And we saw the end of the war with Japan in the second Japanese-Hellenic conflict. And we are just about to see the end of this conflict with Montezuma. As I mentioned, the companions, guided by Alexander's words, we can see he's giving us an excellent deal as he saw the tenacity of Greece. If you recall, twice before he attempted to rip the Greek off by taking all of their stuff from them in return for a peace treaty. But seeing that Greece was not going to give up so easily, he relented and offered gifts in return for peace, and Alexander advised the companions to accept, which was all part of his scheme. See, Alexander was furious at the taking of Corinth and at the taking of Knossos. Montezuma has completed the Manhattan Project, but that does not turn out to be an issue. So, forces are being massed at Argos here, and Nobunaga is not very happy to see the forces being massed at Sparta as well. He suspects that something's up, and he would be right. Alexander's pissed. We're just getting some resources to bring more happiness to the people, America being useful for once. And Japan has negotiated an open borders deal with Greece, which Alexander had done ironically in response to the time when he and Nobunaga and Montezuma had negotiated open borders before stabbing Greece collectively in the back. So, open borders have been established with Japan. We are in the modern era. Montezuma is on guard, and Alexander, through his companions, is about to strike the first blow in the Free Knossos operation. There was a lot of civil unrest in Greece at this time because the people were still hurting from the war, and they were upset, they were angry over the taking of two of their cities, and they wanted them back, and they were angry that they were in the hands of the Aztec and the Japanese, and the companions had to respond. They were upset as well, so in 1974 began Operation Free Knossos. Montezuma naturally was not very happy. He had built a city right next to the Barringer crater, which, as you recall, was an important natural wonder for the people of Greece. And this city of Melanelko was in the way of Operation Free Knossos, so it had to fall first. Well, Alexander's companions are ordering the troops here, getting everything ready. That anti-tank gun was swiftly destroyed, but that was a purposeful gambit on Alexander's part. The anti-tank gun, being essentially useless at the moment, was sacrificed in order to give the troops time to move unmolested into position around Melanelko, especially in light of the airplanes, the fighter jets coming down from captured Knossos. But the guns of Alexander were doing an excellent job. Hellenic League was keeping Montezuma busy on all sides. Men died in the campaign, as they always do, but the guns of Alexander and the soldiers of Greece pulled through, capturing Melanelko very swiftly during this campaign. You can see they were forming excellent support ranks here to keep each other as strong as possible. The airplanes come, the jets come, the guns fire, but nothing stops them. They're going to get through, they're going to take the city, and there they go. 1977, Melanelko, the first Aztec city to fall ever in history, falls to the Greek. Now the troops take a moment to deliberate where they're going to strike next. Obviously Knossos is the target they want, but Tula is a threat to the east. And there is also a city on the peninsula which is very difficult to assail. Tlaxcala, you can see, can only be attacked from one side unless the units are amphibious. and they had not yet learned marine technology. So the soldiers here, shoring up in Malinalco, healing their wounds, being assaulted by the airplanes, and preparing to retake Knossos. And as we wait for that to happen, I'd just like to talk a little bit about what's going on with the channel. We've seen a lot of subscribers joining, and that's fantastic. I hope that you continue to recommend this course to your friends, and I'm really glad that you're enjoying what I'm doing here enough to subscribe to it, and I hope that we'll continue to see more of that. One of Alexander's gun emplacements is destroyed there by a concerted assault. Aztec learned their mistake at Malinalco. The guns are the primary force used against cities, but Alexander, of course, has his companions switch it up, or at least his companions switch it up and claim that that is the will of Alexander. As you recall, he is essentially in a vegetative state, emerging into moments of lucidity only to spew gibberish, which the companions take as prophecy. He is, after all, a god. He proclaimed it, everyone believed him, and he was very long-lived. So we've got subscribers from all over the world, and that's fantastic. I'm glad that you've given so much interest to history and so much interest to this course. I want to thank you again. We're getting some good comments, we're getting some not so good comments, but the majority are positive, and I'm glad to hear that. Again, if you ever have any suggestions for me, don't hesitate to make them. And you can see that they're fighting their way through the enemy troops, but Tula is going to be a problem as it's continuing to harry the soldiers making their way up to Knossos. And that airplane stationed in Knossos is also deadly. I was checking the Insight stats, and we've got lots of viewers from Europe now, and our viewership in Australia is skyrocketing. And, it may or may not be the case, but I could possibly attribute that to Arsenal Robert. He's an Australian gentleman who uploads game footage and commentary on Farming Simulator and on Two Worlds 2, which is how I originally found him. He's very entertaining to watch. He's not used to playing role-playing games, so you get to see an entirely new perspective on these games if you're a role-playing gamer like myself, and I really enjoyed that. So I've included a link to Arsenal Roberts' channel in the video description. Check it out if you're interested in that kind of thing. Even if you're not, he's a fun guy. And, I figure Australia deserves all of the support it can get right now with the hurricane threatening North Queensland. You can see here Greece was really just beaten back from Knossos. The Aztec rallied a powerful counteroffensive and just destroyed the Greek forces, but they're undaunted. They're going to retake Knossos even if it takes them 20 years, which in fact it does. So, yes, there's a massive tropical cyclone, they're calling it, approaching North Queensland, which was just ravaged by floods a few weeks ago. So that's North Queensland just cannot get a break lately, and it's really upsetting. I saw a news story, which I'll also link in the description, which showed the magnitude of the cyclone. They superimposed it over a map of the United States, and it covers nearly the entire continent. Not the entire continent, nearly the entire country of the United States, which is the width of an entire continent. But just the size of it is staggering, boggles the mind, and I wish the people of North Queensland all the best. I really hope that they're going to be able to get through this, especially considering all that they've been through before with the floods. So my thoughts go out to them, my wishes go out to them. I hope that yours do as well. Please take a moment to consider them. So the Hellenic League is working hard to keep Montezuma distracted, while the Greek soldiers do their best to retake Knossos. You can see they're coming up here from Sparta. It's really difficult to get reinforcements all the way up to Knossos right now. There are the open borders with Japan, but Nobunaga is growing suspicious. We can't get across the channel because Montezuma patrols it with his more powerful warships, and we are left with no recourse but to go all the way down and around the peninsula here through Sparta, and that takes a long time. It takes the troops ages to get there. and as you can see, Tula is still providing harrying fire. The Greek make a last-ditch attempt to capture Knossos with their wounded battalion, but they just can't do it. They could have made it if they'd had just a little bit of support, but they weren't able to get there in time, which means they're going to have to wait until more soldiers can arrive. But they're determined, as we've said. Montezuma wants peace, but Alexander and his companions and the people of Greece themselves are not having any of it as we move into the 90s. They want Knossos back. They are furious that it was captured, and they're not going to stop at anything until the city is retaken. And you can see it's on the verge of falling. Montezuma's made it a puppet. He's made it an air base to use against his comrades. The people of Knossos are starving and suffering under his rule. Greece is just not having any of this, and they're about to do their best. You can see some uranium's been discovered, which is wonderful, because no other strategic resources more modern than steel have been discovered anywhere on this entire continent, making it difficult to wage a lengthy war. If they're only aluminum, we would be able to make more advanced weaponry like tanks, as we have the technology for combustion, but they don't exist. There is no way to get in there. There's no way to trade with anyone because nobody seems to have aluminum on the planet in this timeline, which was very distressing. So we are stuck working with artillery and infantry, but they seem to be doing the job, just not as effectively as tanks would. Florence defending itself against some marauding ships there. And we can see now there are 2 more soldiers up there. The guns just making sure, double tap, you know the drill. And the Greek go in, they take Knossos, 1993. 19 years after Operation Free Knossos began. Greece has regained Knossos and has taken over Melanelko. Now they're trying to figure out what is their next step going to be. And they do eventually decide to take Tula. Tula is another step into Montezuma's territory, and as we've seen, Alexander and his companions are hell-bent on dealing a vicious blow to the Greek. And so the army continues to be built, infantry continues to be trained, and the guns continue to be manufactured because they have become Alexander's favored weapon of war. They do have a lot of difficulties. Often they can't fire over hills, or often they can't target enemy cities or units for no discernible reason. But you can see 3 gun emplacements here, neatly taking care of that ship with the help of the city itself. Boom, boom, boom. There goes the destroyer. Montezuma won't try that again. And the people of Greece are getting ready for their assault. Time's gonna pass. We're in 1995. So we're nearing modern times. And I want to take a quick poll as the troops get into line here. I would like to know, would you like me to continue this history lesson into the future, beyond 2011, or would you like me to end it at 2011? I can tell you now I have already created the archives up to 2042, and will continue to create archives until the game ends. But if you would like me to end this in 2011 and move on to the next True and Accurate History season with a new country, please let me know in the comments below. If you want me to continue until the end of history in this file, I'll do so. If you want me to stop in 2011, I'll do that as well. Just let me know your preference. So, Tula under siege. The infantry here, they're working really hard to get into it, but they're going to have to wait 1 more year until they're strong enough to really take the city. But it's coming. I also want to take a moment to ask you to look into the news and see what's going on in Egypt. It's a fascinating story about what happens when you try to take freedom away from people, and when you try to take communication away from people. The activism has been incredibly strong. People have been speaking out against lifetime President Mubarak, who has been rigging elections for about 30 years. And he has made a speech saying that he is going to step down and not run for re-election after the 7th day of protests. You see Tula's going to fall here. So to rate this lesson, give me a comment. Let me know if you want to end in 2011 or do the end of history. And subscribe.